Hi, this is Janice again, and welcome back to our coaching sessions. We're at session 5. And as you know, these sessions are being held to help enhance your ability to be effective in supporting your students in their education. And our topic tonight is evaluating your facilitation style. So we all know the facilitator's job is a pretty big one. It's to support everyone to do their best thinking. And to do this, the facilitator has to encourage everyone to participate fully, to promote mutual understanding of the topic at hand, and to cultivate shared responsibility for the learning that is taking place within the forum. To begin with, in order to evaluate your style, you first need to understand what are the skills that you're using and determine whether or not you're actually utilizing them effectively. Well, there are 4 basic skills that you're going to utilize in a forum. Now, there are other skills you actually utilize in facilitating a course, but within the forum, there really are 4 that you are going to focus in on. The first that you think about is the planning. And I know I have it in the lower corner here, but it's because we'll come back to it actually. But in the beginning, you do want to think about when you're thinking about the forum question, you think about what kind of a time frame and expectation do you have for that question. So the scope of the question needs to meet the time frame that you are actually going to give to have this forum. So is it a 1-week discussion, a 2-week discussion, or is it going to be a forum that you're going to have open for the entire run of the course? And that helps you determine how long will you allow for consensus to build within the discussion team and give you time to transition between theory and concrete experience and build that momentum within the discussion itself. So and then once the forum is set up, you move into your engaging skills. You need to welcome people not only into the group but into that forum and encourage them to participate and create curiosity in that topic and generate interest. Now, this does not mean that you are the one talking about the topic, but you are bringing them in. You're using those engaging skills. And then once the discussion gets going, you are going to be probably waffling between 2 things. You're going to be informing and you're going to be involving. So you're going to be providing some factual information to fill in some gaps where students might have. And you're going to be correcting trajectories, correcting misconceptions, trying to keep that conversation on track within the flow that you had hoped. Now, sometimes students discover things that you did not expect, and that's okay. Allow them to scaffold along their own paths as long as they are not misunderstanding the topic or forming bad knowledge. That's what your expertise brings to the table. And then make sure that there's positive interaction going on. Make sure that you're helping them learn by practice, applying the information and the discussion to practical application around them. Lead students into let the discussion being led by the students, not by you. You need to ensure that you introduce it, but then step back and let the students really form the discussion. Don't be afraid to step in and energize, but again, this is a discussion among the peers, and you are the facilitator, not the topic, or you are not the center of the topic. So once you've understood those skills that you're using, think about the style that you use within a topic. Are you the kind of facilitator who is what we call a stated commitment? Do you have a stated commitment within that topic? Are you actually somebody who is actively a participant in the discussion, engaging with your personal opinions and views? You may actually be the one who starts the discussion and repeatedly starts the strains of discussion. Is it a discussion where you are an active one-to-one relationship with most of the students? That it's not a bad thing, it has its place, but it is a particular style. An alternate style, which can be just as equally as strong, is a devil's advocate. And this is where, when a student positions themselves, you take an opposing view, or you might make a controversial statement, challenging or questioning a student's position. Again, you are a very active participant in the discussion. Now, when you take this position, it is extremely important that you inform students that you are taking a position, because depending on the age of the student, their level of understanding of the topic, and the respect for you as their instructor, they may be very unnerved by you taking this kind of a position, depending on how strongly you position yourself. And so you do need to be very careful and be very open and transparent that this is a role that you are playing. This is not you particularly being a person opposing them. You are opposing their view. It is not a personal attack on what they are doing. So those are two very active roles that you can play, and it's two very distinct styles. Now the bottom two are more facilitative or management type roles. The first, the balanced on here on the lower left side, is where you might actually be giving multiple statements of a view. You might give a very, pro view on one thing and a negative view on another. You're giving information to fill gaps in. You're stimulating discussion by maybe offering new ideas that are counter to each other. But you are not necessarily a participant. You're an instigator. You're a stimulator, and you are managing to make sure that people are all engaged and that the discussion just keeps flowing. The last style is that of the impartial facilitator. You're taking a neutral stance. You are not going to offer any personal view or opinion, but you are going to ensure that students equally participate. So you will encourage their involvement. You will bring them into the discussion. You might comment on something to engage them, but you particularly are not a participant. You're really a manager of the flow. So those are four very distinct styles. Think about, which one do you fall into one regularly? Is it working for you? Ask yourself. Is it something that maybe it's time for a change? I would encourage you to try different ones, but again, forewarn the students, let them know the role that you will be playing, because they may expect you to be the person who leads the discussion, and truthfully, to get them to be self-directed learners, you do need to play the bottom two roles more often, especially as the course develops. In the beginning, you can be an active participant, but by the middle and the end of the course, they should be running their discussions on their own. Now that we've talked about the kinds of positions you might take in the class, and that we need to think about, how would you really evaluate yourself then? Well, there are rubrics to look at different facilitation styles, and this rubric has 4 different qualities or criteria we're looking at. The first criteria is Does your style promote engagement? So when you post, are you just making a statement? Level 1 is the lowest performance. Level 4 is the highest. And when you think of the scale, you're going from a very low level descriptive, sort of a non-involvement to a very engaging, thought-provoking kind of role. So in the first level, you're just maybe making statements like, wow, that was an interesting comment. You're not really engaging them, you're not challenging them, and you're not really encouraging anything out of that statement. So why did you make it? The level 4 is where you're making some kind of a thought-provoking or insightful or intellectually challenging statement or question, and you're promoting really authentic discourse among the peers. You might be tying together, you might say, student 1, 2, and 3, boy, you've all had similar statements. How did you arrive at those statements? Did each of you come to that together? Or something that might promote them talking to each other. You need to pull them together. The second criteria, interaction techniques, the techniques that you use to get people to talk among themselves as opposed to talking to just you. So at the level 1, look at your forum, look at your style. Are you the only one asking the questions, or are you the one answering most of the questions? That's not, this is a forum for your students, so you should be on the far end where you are creating the condition for the students to assume the responsibility for the success of the discussion. You want to create the first question or the topic that is open-ended enough where the students can take it and run with it. Do not form the question in a way that it's an assignment. You want it to be open-ended. And we'll have another session later about forming good topic questions. But for right now, we're looking at how you respond to people. So the third criteria is the quality and the purpose of your postings. So are your postings, when you respond, are they closed in nature? Are you responding in terms of commenting on what they said? Are you not leading them into further discussion? So you might say, oh, that was a very interesting comment you just made. Or are you feeding more information based on what they said, but not asking them a probing question to continue it? At level 4, you would be asking them to give you an explanation of how they arrived at that. Or you might present a follow-on question that might be might be a deeper exploration of something they stated. And then the last criteria is on student participation. Did you really generate an involvement of interaction among students? Or was on the low level just between you and a few students? On the high level, was it really among most of the students and you were just there to bring it all together? So that was our group reflection. And when you see yourself, do you have a bigger place in the group, or does the group have a bigger place than you? That's the reflection you want to see and ask yourself when you see yourself as a facilitator. And that wraps up our topic for tonight. And again, I invite you back for our coaching sessions where we talk about what are you doing that's successful, what challenges are you having, and what can we change to have a positive impact on your students. Thank you for your time tonight.